Thanks for calling in. I think we have something like 125 on the phone right now. I wanted the opportunity to, I'm here with the cabinet and other members of the leadership team who've been meeting in this emergency operations center every day for, it now seems like a year. I think it's been 2 or 3 weeks. I want to talk about, I've got like 5 main points I want to make this afternoon, and then I want to offer the opportunity for questions and answers. As of today, I'm asking everybody on campus to take a really hard look at how much more we can do in a really aggressive way to promote social distancing, which means I'm asking everyone to think about who can telecommute and who. So I just sent to each of you 2 documents, and I would really hoping you could pull those up right now. So I'm gonna give you just a minute. Just go look in your inbox. There's a document that's called Telecommuting Guidance, and there's another one that's about transformational work. And I want to walk through these initially, and then we'll take some Q&A, and I want to get on to some other topics. So really the first thing I want to emphasize is that as of yesterday, we've heard from the director of our health center and local Knoxville public health that the truth is Knoxville still has very few cases. I think as of last night it was 2. So we are the spread of this virus is not really happened here yet. And if there's any way we can stay ahead of it, that would be a great thing for us to do. So based on that, I am asking every unit on campus who has not already done so to look carefully at what work can be done at home, or how we reorganize work in the office where we got a lot of social distance between us. So we're trying to promote much more aggressively more social distancing. We're not closed. So let me just say that again. What we're trying to do is promote health. You can see that in your document. We want to maximize social distancing by reducing the number of people on campus. It doesn't mean everyone, but reducing the total number, so reducing the interactions, and then at the same time maintain our campus operations. So how are we going to do that? I want each of you who supervises someone to really carefully walk through this diagram flowchart with me. So what you'll see is that I want you to start with just remember what our goals are. We're trying to promote health. We're trying to maximize social distancing and reduce the number of people on campus. And we're trying to, at the same time, we've got important operations that have to go on. So I want you to ask yourself, all of us, can the employees' core work be performed only on campus? So from your perspective, or from the university's perspective, that's the first question you're going to ask as you try to figure out who can telecommute. If the answer is yes, let's go down the left-hand side of your box, of the diagram. If the answer is yes, is the employee, this is the next question, is the employee in a COVID-19 high-risk category? According to the CDC guidelines, you need to go look those up. It has to do with age, underlying conditions. So if they're in a high-risk category and they prefer to work at home, then you need to ask the following 2 questions, okay? So if the answer is yes, they're in that category and they want to work from home, the question is, if yes, then here's what happens. The employee will be assigned alternative work by their supervisor to be completed away from campus, or they're going to conduct transformational work. And in a minute, I'm going to talk about what that is. That's in your next handout. So for the time being, there's that category of people. If they're in a high-risk group and they want to work at home, and if that's possible, your job as a supervisor is to assign them alternative work or some transformational work. If the answer is no, the employee will continue to report to work based on a schedule set by their supervisor with measures for extreme social distancing. So if you look at the footnote at the bottom, let's walk through what do we mean by that. First of all, In any situation, all employees will take sick leave or annual leave as normal for absences of periods when they're not working. So just as if you were at work or your employees were at work, if you're sick, you take, if you're at home and you're sick, you take sick leave. Now, one of the things I want to say as a backdrop is we're all in this together. We're going to use the honor code. We're not going to get all into this, you know, we're just going to have to do this as best we can. And we need to be flexible, creative, compassionate, the things I've been talking about. Arrangements for extreme social distancing may include continuing to come to campus, but working with considerable distance from anyone else. So for example, it may be appropriate for someone to work in a private office or a unit with only a few people where you can social distance from one another. Take measures to wipe down desks, computers, phones, etc. Supervisors should consider also alternative scheduling or staggered shifts. So it could be that in an office where there are two people where it feels like they really can't work at home, one of them works one day in the office, the other one's doing transformational work at home. So we're asking everybody to just be creative and be flexible and try to make this work. So now I've covered the category that was, can the work be performed at home? Let's look at the next category. Can the core work be performed only on campus? I said that wrong a minute ago. If the answer is no, it can't be performed only on campus, can the employee perform job duties through telecommuting? If the answer is yes, employees will work through telecommuting, period. Many of us, we can do that. For many, if the answer is no, the employee will be permitted to work on campus with arrangements for extreme social distancing. If they do not have a sufficient amount of work to telecommute full-time, or if they fall into a high-risk category, they can conduct transformational work at home. And let me just refer to transformational work, and then I'm going to stop and take questions about this part of it. If you look at the next handout, what I really want everyone to consider is this is a time, we've got 7 weeks left in this semester. And I don't want us to get hung up about, I don't think there's enough work for somebody to do at home. There's always work. So here's some of the kinds of work that people could do. Under this handout that says transformational work we can all do. Let's transform our campus while we fight this virus. So first of all, here's some strategies for working remotely. These are things we know make it work better. A routine, checking in regularly, being flexible. And then take a look at these. Every single person can take the campus to reimagine your job. What we're suggesting is you might have a worker who you don't really have that much for them to do in the office. They could spend time reimagining their job. How do you think they can improve their role, improve the office, improve communication? The second category is this could be a great time for professional development for people. Encourage people to go online, take a course, learn new skills, learn how to do Excel, learn how to do something they've always wanted to do on the job but never had time to do. Let's encourage people to use this time and be creative if they have work that's not, if the work is not telecommuting. Even if it is, they get their work done efficiently. Let's encourage people to all take part in helping transform this campus. Here's another thing that people can do. Analyze best practices of institutions. So for example, you can say to people, what I really want you to do it.
We were trying to close everybody else out. Can you get that again?
Are we back on?
Not yet.
You're back.
We can hear you now.
Just 10 seconds.
Hi, Vicki.
Okay, it's on.
Vicki's on the screen. I can see her. Okay, so the point is, look at this as a resource. Encourage people to network inside the university, outside the university. We can use this time to strengthen our connections with one another. It'd be a great thing if that's what came out of this. Another thing is think about strategic visioning. Maybe everybody could go read the working paper and give us some ideas and feedback about it. Somebody suggested watch the chancellor's investiture. I think that's a great idea. See if there's ideas that come to you from that, and ask your employee to talk with you about those things. Another category was enhance our workplace culture. So ask an employee to think about ideas for making this university even better, the best place to work. What would we do? Go look at other universities and write some ideas that they can give to you, your supervisor. Another category is student success. Let's everybody think about student success. And here's some things your employee could do to think about student success and to make some improvements. The last category is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So review your department's work, strategic diversity work plan. Some of you may say, I don't think I've seen that. Go ask your supervisor about it. Stay engaged on professional development about about the topic of inclusion and diversity. Think about your own work interview. Does everybody feel like they belong, like they matter? I'm going to stop right there and just say, there's something for everyone to do. We don't need to worry about, I don't think my job's telecommutable. And I'm talking to each of you today because you are the leaders, you are the supervisors. And my hope is that let's take this time, many of us have a lot of work that we can do from home. There are people for whom that's not clear. And so these are some guidelines for you, the supervisors, to try to help them make the most of this experience. We don't know how long this is going to last. I think we should all be planning through the end of the semester. Now, here's something I said to the large room yesterday of the Emergency Operations Center. No one's going to lose their job, and that includes student workers. So I want to talk just for a minute about student workers, and then I'll pause here and we'll take some questions. I have said publicly that any student who was employed before spring break is still employed if they want to be. And even if they're back at home in Western Tennessee, their supervisor is responsible for giving them work they can do from home. Now, I know that's a stretch. Some of you are thinking, well, they just made copies in the office. What am I going to have them do now? I'm asking you, this is the moment where you got to step in there, be creative, be compassionate. They need a paycheck, and there are plenty of things for them to do. Think about what could help your office. Maybe you need a student's perspective on the friendliness of the office. Maybe you need a student's perspective on any number of things. I'm asking you guys to make sure that our students stay employed. I promise they will be. In the extreme circumstance that somebody can't think of anything for a student worker to do, we're going to create a database, and more information will come on that, where workers and students will be able to find work. But this is not on the student. The responsibility is on us to give them meaningful assignments. We are probably going to be, we know, for example, that the rec center is closed. And those students aren't going to be working at the rec center the rest of the semester. But we're already finding jobs for them to do other things in student life. And that's what I'm asking each of you to do. So I want to just stop right there. That my first main point was we need to drastically reduce the number of people on campus. And many of you are already there. But it's inconsistent across campus. This is not saying we're closing offices, because we're not. What we're doing is finding other places to work for many of us where we're reducing the congestion of people where we could spread this virus. So let me stop and ask for questions.
Andy, I have one suggestion about what some students and maybe some staff could be doing from home that could maybe have a really important impact on our students. My team is developing a protocol or script for student workers and staff who are working at home to make phone calls to our students, starting with first-year students. They have a script. It's just going to be all about, hi, this is UT. We're calling to check in with you. How are you doing? Are you keeping up with your classes? What questions do you have? And then following up. And we're starting with our first-year students. We want to be known as the high-touch college, except we're redefining touch. And touch will mean touching the mind and the heart instead of the body.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Dandi, this is Aslam Kılıç from Tekil College of Engineering. We have been discussing about our recruitment events and the recent cancellation of orientation and college tours. So we are considering about hiring students to do live chats with families whose tours have been canceled. Perhaps this could be done at the university level.
So I can tell you right now that we have 3 of our university leaders working on that. I'm meeting with them this afternoon, Carrie Aldridge, Amber Williams, and Shay Hoos from the Dean of Students Office to talk about exactly that and some really creative things we can do with social media. So that will be flowing out and you're thinking about it exactly the right way. If we don't recruit students right now, think about what that is. That's the class of 21. So that work has to continue, and we are going to give you some guidance centrally. So just look for things to come soon, but in the meantime, with your own teams, be thinking creatively just like you are.
Hey, Don, Andrew Sheehy. Just a quick question. It seems like many different units are responding in different ways. Could we create some way to share those ideas so we have more of a collective approach to it as well?
That's a great idea. And what we will, someone's going to write that down. We'll make sure that happens. I'm going to get with this group this afternoon, and that'll be the first thing I tell them is to collectively get those ideas from the various recruiters and advisors. There's some good stuff going on about advising and tutoring. And we'll put all that in an ongoing, I don't know what it'll look like, a feed or blog or a newsletter or something. That's a great suggestion. We've got one question that's come in here. Which one is it, Tisha?
Are you including PRAs in your comment about student workers? Will they continue to receive their stipend?
PRAs everyone is included. No one will go unpaid. So if you are supervising doctoral students, this applies to you. I'm thinking they'll have an easier time figuring out what work they can do and get paid to do. Maybe they can get to work on their dissertation instead of whatever they were doing instead. But yes, it applies to grad GRAs as well.
Can we share the documents?
Oh, may we share these Absolutely. Please do. And so really think about how great this could be for our university. If we actually begin the process of regular communication with the people who work for us and say, hey, how can we make this place better? That's kind of that's why we called it the transformational guide or whatever. I think it could be, we could come out of this. I said this the other day to the deans. I said it to another group. At the end of this, I would like it to be true that we were the one university who handled this differently because we focused on the people, our workers, the students. We did it compassionately. We were bold and willing to do stuff that nobody else would do. If we do that, we're going to be a better university on the other side of this. We're going to learn to work in ways that, we probably wouldn't have thought of without this. So there's going to be some gifts from this, but we got to think now about what we want to look like then. And I'm so grateful for the faculty for everything they're doing. They haven't had a choice. It's just, they got thrown into it. Well, guess what? The staff aren't really having that much of a choice either. Many of them, we would like to see if they can work not on campus. But I also want to say, it could be for many people, it's a lot healthier to come down here and be the only person in the office and get access to my computer. So this is not we are not closing. We are open for business. We're trying to be creative about how to do work differently.
Then you have a series of questions about grant-funded employees and how that would work.
Okay, so what about grant-funded employees? At this point, I was going to hold this till the end. Matthew Mitch, our Vice Chancellor for Research, is here. Let's focus for a minute on research and grant activity, and I'm going to let Matthew step in and say what you were going to say about research, period.
That's right. The policy of research is the same as the university. We're maximizing social distancing. We are still proceeding with necessary research activities. We need to do so in a safe environment. So we need the PIs to work with their students to develop plans for maximizing social distancing and be sure everybody's safe. Students funded on a particular grant do need to be working on that particular grant and in order to get paid on that. So
I would say so.
we need the faculty to be creative, just like we're asking everybody else to work with their students and continue to make progress. The labs are not closed. They're still operational. We've asked for two things. One is a contingency plan, and that we're not there yet, but we're planning in case that would happen. We ask for everybody to complete that so that we can be aware of any potential issues if the situation changed. Right now, our operation is similar to the rest of the university, is that research continues and the instruction is for everybody to practice maximize social distancing and safe environment. So that's, you know.
Okay, great. Let me go back to a piece of that question, which was, well, will they get paid if the funder won't pay them? And here's the answer to that question. Yes, we're going to have to all figure that out. So between the department and the college and the university, we're going to find a way to pick up that cost through the end of this semester. So that's going to require all of us to trust and to be creative and to look at our reserves in the college in ways we weren't planning on. None of us were planning on using the little cash we've stashed away, but we're going to be, so one way or the other, they will be paid. So please eliminate any worry about that. Another question. Here's one about students have asked if they can work on campus or if they have to work remotely. We want them to work remotely if they can. We are limiting who's in the dorms, and we've got a whole process going on. I'm really proud of Frank Cuevas and the whole student life area. You have no idea the logistical brilliance, let's hope it's brilliance, that's had to go into getting 7,000 students moved while social distancing. We think we've got a plan. We will still have in the residence halls anywhere from 500 to 1,000 students for whom they have no other place to go. And we are happy to have them, and they're going to have meal plans. They will be socially distanced from each other. There's a lot of logistics that have to go on. So the work for them we need to think of it as if they were at home. Can they do it from their dorm room? Can they do it? I mean, that would be my preference. If there's one person in the office and there's something the student could do in the office and it's not crowded, I'd leave that to the supervisors to think about right now. So kind of no hard and fast rules here is what I want to say. But safety first, and thinking most work can probably be done from somewhere else. And if not, we've given you a whole suggestion of transformational activities that could really help us. Other questions? I'm reading here questions you're typing in.
So there were some questions that have gone that disappeared in the conversation on the side, but about if you have a small office, do you have somebody come in and somebody stay home and switch off, or?
Okay, so what we were trying to say was, if there's work that has to be done on campus, think about creative ways of doing it, where people aren't there at the same time, or where you say you take turns. As I said earlier, one day somebody comes in by themselves and does what needs to be done while their colleagues are doing transformational work at home. And the next day you take turns. I did just see a comment here that says, are you aware that I started with, we only have 2 cases in Knoxville. Am I aware of the fact that that's because we haven't done any testing? I'm aware of that. We haven't done any testing anywhere, okay? But what the health officials are saying is the biggest part of the positive results so far, and everything's changing every day, are in the Nashville area. When we were at 52, what we were told yesterday, there was 43 of them were in that area and 1 was here. It was up to over 70 for the state and 2 are here. We know there's going to be a lot more once people are getting tested. We absolutely know that. But the pattern right now is there's a lot less in this big metropolitan area than the other large metropolitan areas. So let's try to seize the moment and take advantage of it. What else? Okay, so now, if we don't have any more questions, I've got a couple more points. Is there anything else on this?
People are asking whether buildings will be locked at this point.
No. Business, our buildings are operating the same as they always have been. The dorms will be a different question, but y'all don't need to really worry about that part. Let me speak to, there's a couple of other changes. So I want to just reemphasize, this is an opportunity for us, and we got to see it that way. And while I know it's just disrupting all of us, people in this room, we're trying to remember what was the work we were doing before we were managing this crisis. But this is an opportunity for us to make some changes that, you know, may end up being long lasting for us. And so just really for everybody that you encounter, trying to help them feel that way, reducing people's stress. There's no reason to panic here. We're all in this together, and together we will make it through this. But we need everybody sharing that message. And what we're trying to do today is give you some resources to help people stay involved and stay connected. Now I want to speak really directly to the role of the department heads. And I hope to get an email out later about this, but I want the department heads and the deans, I want you to think about this. That what faculty need from their department head now is so much different than what they needed a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I've been a department head, and I know how most of my time was filled with getting the schedule straight, with hiring instructors, was managing people's travel money, was making a lot of daily decisions. I don't want to teach in that classroom. Can I be in that classroom? Most of that work we don't need done right now. But what we need is faculty need connection with you. I'm hearing different reports from our department head hasn't sent us anything. We've started working on this, but no, I haven't heard from anyone. There ought to be a regular check-in. I would challenge department heads to say, get on the phone with every single one of your faculty. How's your coursework coming? What do you need? Is there something I can get for you? Their needs now are different, and they don't even really know what they are probably because they're just now getting into it. So in many ways, your role has got to be much more of a personal connection, one-on-one, being available and encouraging folks to be available with each other. You know, becoming social isolation, which is what we're being asked to do. We can use that to our advantage. It can also be difficult for people who are introverted or who are just totally overwhelmed with trying to think about putting this online. So they need you, and they need you to encourage them. One of the things I want you to encourage them with is we're starting online next Monday. If I were you as a department head, I would say you don't have to have it all fixed up at all. It doesn't have to be perfect. What they need is to hear from you, and emails and connections. And if you're not ready on Monday, I would say to them, I'm glad you've checked in. This is going to be fun. And your first assignment will be posted whenever you're ready to post it. And try to make it, it's much more about trying to create meaningful exchanges. So help your faculty feel confident. That's one of the things we heard up in the Emergency Operations Center earlier today, is some faculty feeling like, I'm not ready. Others are ready and running. But if you're not ready, that's okay. Stay in touch with students. We have told students, you will be hearing from your instructor. But that doesn't mean you have to be on day one set to go. I hope that's helpful. So the department head, your role is really shifting. And deans, you got to help the department heads with that. Have you checked in with your faculty yet? Another thing I want to make a comment about is we have been really proactively looking. We have purchased now, we're up to 700 laptops, I think, or 800. The priority on loaning those laptops is to go for our students. If you have faculty or staff for whom you absolutely have no extra laptop in your department, then we've issued a procedure for how you let us know that. You go through IT. IT is going to go to the appropriate vice chancellor, which in the case of faculty would be David. And we're going to all help out with this, but the first priority for those laptops is our students. And so far, we haven't heard from too many students. But we have heard that another very popular thing with the students is we've also provided little cards that provide internet. Because we have students who live in communities without internet. Okay, so the last thing I guess I really wanted to summarize, and we'll take any more questions, is, you know, so far everyone has been stepping up with just so much creativity and enthusiasm. We are trying to take care of each detail as we think about it. I can tell you right now, we are working on trying to schedule a commencement exercise for sometime, hopefully in August. We don't have the specifics on that. We're trying to get that in place that we can announce in the next day or two. So we're telling students over in the ball shop who are asking for a refund on their cap and gown, you may want to keep it, because there will be some sort of ceremony in August. The other thing I want to say to the deans and department heads is that untenured faculty have started to ask about, well, what about my tenure clock? So here's the answer today, that as of right now, any faculty member who has an extenuating circumstance and wants to request an additional year on their time clock, on their tenure clock, we have a process for that. What I have asked the system to do, and they're going to do it, is take to the board a request for kind of a blanket policy, and I feel pretty confident we'll get that. So please reassure untenured faculty that help is coming on that score, not to worry about that. Because even without a change by the board policy, we could do all those. I'd rather just not have to do them on a case-by-case basis. Is that helpful?
So there was a question about the telecommuting form that maybe Mary can
Okay.
talk about.
Let me just start by saying, somebody asked about, there's a telecommuting form on the website, which was put up there over a week ago when we didn't know how much we were going to be telecommuting. I would say at this point, we're going to take that down. You're not required to fill that out. If you look at it, it actually has some very good points that supervisors and employees could use to talk to one another. The intent of that, under different circumstances, was in the extreme case that someone has to telecommute, here's what you ought to try to do. Have a conversation, answer these questions, and both people sign it. The truth is, right now, in this new telecommuting world, it's not an exception, but it's a great idea for supervisors to get with their employees and say, let's talk about how we're going to manage your time over the next few weeks. But you don't have to use that form. Does that help? We are trying to send out a regular update. We are sending out a regular update at the end of every day. We aim for 5. Sometimes it's more like 6 when it gets out. So just keep watching your email. Keep encouraging students to watch their emails. We've noticed the open rate from students on emails is greater than it's ever been. So they're actually starting to read emails. That's a good thing that might be coming out of this. Other questions? When talking about student workers, that includes work-study students as well as any other type of paid student worker on our campus. What else? At the end of the meeting, can everyone please turn on their video before leaving the meeting and leave the video on for about 5 minutes? We'd like to run some traffic reports.
It's OIT. OIT wants to make sure that they can run
Okay.
reports to.
So when I'm done here, if y'all would just stay on a little bit and let us do some OIT stuff.
Donnie, someone sent me a question individually. I want to make sure I understand this correctly. If employees can telecommute, they are expected to telecommute, even if office spaces are set up with social distancing in separate offices.
If they can telecommute, we want them to. They're not required to. That's really, today, that's between the supervisor and the employee. If we get issued something down the road that we're in shutdown mode, we'll let you know that all that's changed. But we are encouraging people to, if they can telecommute, we'd like that to happen. Did that get that, Beth, you think? Anything else?
Summer sessions, anything?
Okay, we have not made a decision about summer session. Yesterday, we made the decision that we need mini-term to go online, whatever we were doing in mini-term. And that starts before the semester's even up, May 6th. So that we have encouraged. We've not made a decision yet about summer term. We are working on wanting to make sure that whatever we offer, if we need to offer online, which I'm guessing we probably will, that we start with students who have the highest need, making sure the courses they need, like to graduate, to stay on track, some categories of students that have unique needs, that those get met first. But you'll be hearing much more about that through the provost, through the deans, through the department heads. You guys, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the attitude you're having. It's overwhelming. People are just stepping up like crazy. There's just been, if anyone's complaining, we're not hearing about it. So thank you. Just be creative, try stuff. Don't ask for permission, just try it. That's pretty much what I believe. Okay, thank you all very much. We'll probably try to do some of these regular touch-ins. If it turns out this was valuable, let us know with an email or something, and we'll keep trying to touch base like this occasionally. Like, we need to talk to each other more now, not less. Thank you very much. Go Vols.
Beth, will you let us know when the 5 minutes is up?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Is this our opportunity to sing to each other like the